on today is working on achieving these low, deep breaths as singers. So the first thing that we have to do is establish good posture. Before you can even think about breath, posture and the way we hold our body is so important. So we see some examples here of bad posture. So this guy, the first example, he's way pushed back. Here he's overextended in the lower back. Here he's slouched over. I think number 3 is one of the most common things that we see is this slouched over kind of posture with the shoulders rolled forward. It comes from sitting at desks all the time, things like that. And it's kind of related to the next fault that we see, this 4th example, where his neck is stuck way out. And so if you're sitting at a computer, that's really common to do all day, is to build these bad postural habits. So we want to work on achieving this last example. So they've drawn this line through his body. It's a straight line. So that's referring to the alignment that we're trying to find. So I'm going to stop the share for a second. So if you have room to stand up, do. If you're just sitting in front of a chair, that's fine too. But I'll try to, okay, you can see me, yeah, okay. So first things first, stand. You want your feet right under your hips. So your feet are gonna be slightly apart. They're not super close together. They're just slightly comfortably apart so that you're well supported. The next thing is you don't want to be locked straight up with your knees locked. You want them to be bouncy and loose. You can, if you ever see people faint in a choir concert, that's probably why. It's because they lock their knees and they're not getting good breath. So you want to make sure your knees stay nice and loose. You want your hips to be tucked comfortably underneath you. You don't want to be super overextended. You don't want to be slouched. You just want a nice comfortable tuck. Your chest is high and proud and open. It's not, your chest isn't forced up military, your shoulders aren't forced back, no. They're just nicely comfortably open. So if you, and your arms are hanging at your side. So if you roll your shoulders back and just let them drop down, that's where your shoulders should be. They're not locked. Your chest is comfortably high. And your neck also is keeping that straight line in your body. It's not tilted too forward. It's not tilted back. Your chin is nice and level. You're able to look straight ahead. Just nice and free and loose. And that's your first step, is finding good posture. If you're seated, you can do the same thing. You just want to make sure that you don't get slouched, don't get lazy. You stay nice and up and free. And what that does is that actually gives your lungs room to fully, properly expand. So once we achieve good posture, we can start thinking about actually breathing. So the trick of breathing is that it's something that we literally do all the time. We do it all the time to live, but we don't think about it. So we can build really bad habits. So what you want to try to do is bring breathing into the forefront of your conscious thoughts. So it's something that you actually are thinking about. So that's the first step, is just tuning into your breath. So that's why we do this exercise as well. It's just to check, how are we breathing? Are we breathing high? Or are we breathing low? So you want to make breathing something you think about. And it helps to get an understanding of what's actually going on inside your body when you breathe. So let's take a look at something else. So the singer's breath. So our lungs are encased in our rib cage. We see the lungs in blue here, and they're inside the rib cage. And we can see in this graphic that as we breathe in, the lungs go down, they expand down, they get bigger. And as we breathe out, they contract and they get smaller. And we see the same thing happening with the rib cage. It's actually contracting and opening up as it breathes, as the lungs fill with air, and then they get smaller as the lungs lose their air. So that's a super helpful image, especially if you're someone who is used to breathing shallowly with the high chest breathing. If you think about your lungs descending down into your rib cage, it helps a whole lot to achieve that nice deep breath. So I'm gonna make us all breathe together again. Sitting up tall, literally find your rib cage and where it ends. It's gonna be, if your belly button's about right here, it'll be a little high and over to the side. And when you take a deep breath in, you'll wanna feel some expansion around that rib cage. So when I talk about low breath, I also don't want you to think that you just have to put your belly up, because it's not just that, it's expansion all around. One way that we can achieve this low deep breath is to imagine that you're smelling a flower, like a really good smell, or like cookies coming out of the oven. Deep breath, you smell that breath, and you're naturally gonna get that low, even expansion. Another way is, everyone try a yawn. Like, oh, and I'm actually yawning now. But you get that same kind of low, deep expansion very, very naturally. And that is what we're going for when we take a good, low, deep singer's breath. So it's just one way to check yourself. Some other exercises that we can do is if you actually, like if you're sitting in a chair and you just flop over. You flop over, you let your head hang down, and then when you take that deep breath in, you'll feel expansion against your legs. I hope you can still hear me through this microphone. You'll feel expansion against your legs. If you flop over in the chair, take a deep breath, you should feel some pressure against your legs. I love seeing people trying this. This is wonderful. And then one other thing we can do is lie on the floor. I won't lie on the floor right now because then, you know, you won't see me at all. But if you lie straight back on the floor and if you put books on your stomach, you'll want to try to move those books that are on your stomach. Okay, if I could have a demonstration, I would, but that's a great exercise to build up your deep breathing. So once we're comfortable with actually achieving a deep breath and fixing our shallow breathing that is so common in so many of us, then we can start thinking about how we use that breath to actually sustain sound. So this is where it gets a little more complicated. So there's this very important muscle that helps lungs function, and it is called the diaphragm. And if you've ever been in a choir or maybe a theater class, you've probably heard someone say, like, sing from your diaphragm, or, you know, talk from your diaphragm. People like to use it a lot. So let's see what that actually means. So what is the diaphragm? Let's have this person talk us through it really quickly. This is a simple explanation.
So what exactly is a diaphragm? Inside your chest cavity, the diaphragm works to help your breathing. When it contracts, air fills into your lungs. When the diaphragm relaxes, it expands and forces the air out. This is how we breathe.
The diaphragm is a muscle. So just like we have muscles in our arms and our legs, the diaphragm is a muscle that lives right below the lungs. It's attached to the lungs. And our lungs are not muscles. So our lungs can't move on their own. It's like a balloon. A balloon isn't gonna blow up on its own. It needs some help. So the lungs are just kind of sacs that fill up with air with the help of the diaphragm muscle. So this is the same graphic we were looking at before, and this red thing right here, that's the diaphragm. And that's basically the muscle that controls how fast or slow air is leaving our body. So some ways that we can experience this. First, let's all find the diaphragm. So raise your hand if you've ever gotten the hiccups. Yeah, so the hiccups, it's literally your diaphragm having like a little spasm. I'm finding all these features, all these things it's telling me on this Zoom thing. It's super cool. I'm sorry. So if you know, like pretend you got the hiccups, that's your diaphragm pulsing underneath. Another way we can feel the diaphragm is when we laugh. Super silly laugh. But we feel, it allows us to tune into the diaphragm. And that is the muscle that supports our sound when we sing. So basically the diaphragm, when it moves up, how fast or slow it moves up is how fast or slow air leaves our body. And controlling that speed is how we control long singing phrases. So let's experiment with feeling how air can leave our body. So first, take a deep breath in, have your mouth flopped open, and just let all the air out. Yep, it just whoosh out of the body. Now do the same deep breath in, but pucker your lips like you're about to whistle. And then breathe out through that shape. Yeah, and it takes way longer. You'll notice it takes a lot longer for the air to leave our body just because of the shape of our mouths. And that's just one way that we can control how fast air leaves our body. Another way is to breathe in and make a hissing sound. And you can see how long you can go. But like when I breathe in, I can control how slow or fast that air leaves my body. And that hissing exercise is a great way to build up strength in your abs and in your diaphragm and control that air release. And then as we connect actual breath to making sound, like when we speak or when we sing, one good exercise for that is to breathe in and then just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You can all try this. And you'll experience the same kind of thing. You'll take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and see how long you can go while you're tuning into your diaphragm and the air leaving your body. I think I can make it to about 25 on a good day, 25, 30. We're always all working on that. So those are some valuable exercises that we can all use just to build up our breathing strength. Like having a 30-minute workshop on breathing introduces us to a lot of new ideas and how we can feel breath in our bodies. It's super valuable, but it's not something that anyone's going to master in 30 minutes. And this is something that takes practice, and it takes actual effort in like thinking. So it's, you know, be patient with yourself and give yourself time. So we've learned that singing is essentially controlled exhalation. I'm sorry, let me share. Oh, technical difficulties, class. So singing is controlled exhalation. And all this talk about the diaphragm is to help us understand that to control how fast or how long we can sing a phrase is all about controlling the ascent of the diaphragm. So let's do a little recap here. So if you're sitting at home, you're wanting to build your breath support, you're wanting to breathe better when you sing, the first thing you got to do is check your posture. Always before you start to sing, make sure your posture is good, you're aligned, you're free to move, you're buoyant, you're proud. Posture, posture, posture. The second thing you always need, you need to tune into your breathing. And until, you know, opera singers, etc., they work for years to make breathing be something they don't have to think about. But it's everybody's responsibility to tune in to their breathing. If you're sitting, playing a game, if you're doing some work, sending some emails, whatever, just check in with yourself. How am I breathing? Am I breathing high? Am I breathing low? And you'll find actually as you get better at breathing low, your stress levels go down, you feel more relaxed. It's just good for you whether you're a singer or not. And then practice breathing exercises. So the things that we just talked about, lie down on the floor, try to make the books go up. Lying on the floor or sitting in a chair and flopping over, if you're having difficulty getting that shallow or that low breath, achieving that low breath, those are like key 100% will always work. So that's a great place to start. The yawn breath. The smelling a flower. That's the hissing sound. Breathing and then counting and seeing how long you can count. Those are all excellent exercises. And the last exercise I do want to leave you with is something called a lip trill. So everybody try to like make a raspberry. Yes, exactly. And now you can add some pitch to that. This is how I warm up my singers. Almost every lesson, we always do lip trills. And it's such a great exercise. Not only is it a nice, light, easy exercise to get your voice warmed up without blowing out your voice all at once, it really, really connects you to your breathing mechanism. You'll feel if you keep your hands down here, you'll feel that activation in your lower body. Or, for instance, if I'm preparing a song for a solo performance, I practice that song on lip buzzes, like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Lip buzzes are great, great, great tools for connecting your voice to your breath and for building up all that strength, because really it is strength. It takes strength in your abdominal muscles. It takes strength really all around, just to keep your breath pressure consistent. And so just give yourself time to practice. Lip buzzes are a great, great, great way to warm up before you start to sing all the time. Gets you in touch with your breath. A super valuable tool. And really, that kind of is a good starting point for achieving low breath, connecting breath to sound, and using that breath to help you sing long phrases more successfully. In our next workshops, I'm going to talk a little bit more about actually singing. We've covered the body and the breath. We're going to talk about how to manipulate your tone, how to prepare a song for performance, things like that. So I do hope that you tune in the future. I want to see if there are any questions. Does anyone have anything they want to know? Yeah. We're feeling pretty good? Yeah? Awesome. Well, yeah, so I teach at Northside Music Academy. If anyone is interested in voice lessons, we have amazing teachers. And please let the office know. We are operating online until further notice, but we've been having really great success with our lessons so far. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in today. And yeah, I'll be here next time. So tune in again for some more singing tips and tricks, all right? All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to sign out. Y'all have a good one and stay safe and healthy out there. All right. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Judith, before you leave the meeting,
Yes.
okay, let me stop recording.